so much for your kind introduction. I wrote that myself. Let me start by saying that I am an economist. It's a pity, I know. But economists have, this kind, when I first started this thing, but before that, I just want to apologize first, because since economists are not really, we don't really get invited to give TED Talks. Actually, economists are not really invited to go anywhere, so, for very good reason, probably. But I just want to take this opportunity to say, on behalf of the economists present here and all around the world, that we are very, very, very sorry, very, very, very sorry, for approximately 25% of the things that went badly wrong in your life. Because chances are, we're probably responsible for that. And you can blame my girlfriend for the other 75%. She's a lawyer. So, but the thing is, I am an economist of a different kind. You can think of me as an economist of a different kind. I study happiness for a living. For the past 10 years, I've been studying happiness for a living. And I don't know if you know, but happiness is actually one of the fastest growing subject or research subject in social science in the recent years. Now, I don't know if you know this, but it's actually true. But it wasn't like this before. It was really actually quite horrible when I first started it, because people really hated it. Economists really hated the idea that we can study happiness. I can remember this is 10 years ago, I was 22 at Warwick University, walking along the corridor of the economics department. I can faintly hear people kind of gossiping and saying, "There goes that guy. He's happy. I don't like him." The economists don't like the idea that people can actually be happy. So it's a little bit like an episode in Gossip Girl, except that everybody is badly dressed. Okay, so but now things have changed. Over 10 years now, now economists are talking happiness. Politicians are talking about happiness. We want to try to measure what we mean by happiness, this elusive concept. So before then, when I first started it, people were really worried about me because I started on a subject that is so controversial. All my friends were really worried about me. And I said, "Nick, are you sure that you wanted to do this? Who is going to employ you? Who is going to hire you?" Now, say this friend of mine who used to work for the Lehman Brothers. But now, things have changed. Now people start saying to me, "Wow, what a stroke of genius. You chose the right topic. Now you're well famous. Now people know about you. Write a book about it. How did you know? How do you have such a perfect foresight to know what to do in 10 years' time? When you started, nobody really cared about you." Now, I never really tell them the true reasons. I wanted to keep the true reason to my grave, really. I never really want to reveal it to many people, but I thought I would reveal it today because I think it's relevant to my talk. And the reason was because 10 years ago, when I was 22, at that time, when I first started my PhD, I did not have a girlfriend. And I thought that if I do something very different, girls would be impressed with me. Actually, that's I know you might think I'm joking. You're probably laughing now. Actually, it might be your motivation for the rest of the things that you do as well. But because, the things I can talk about this quite openly now, because because according to my girlfriend and fiance, who are the same person, by the way, depending on who's asking, she said to me that whatever that won her over really wasn't this. And when I asked her, "What is it that impresses you?" And she said, "It's because you're you." But I don't think she knows the answer either. And this is because back then, when I first started, I didn't really stand out. The only thing I had to offer other people of the opposite sex is my height, or the lack thereof. If you don't know, I'm quite short in height, and I always thought that's such a good thing. Now, 5'3", that's such a good thing because I thought it's something that girls look forward to in a man, according to my mom at least. When in fact, really, girls, and this is actually going to be related to what I'm talking about in a little bit, that girls actually prefer taller men, right? And I thought it was an attractive thing to be short, but only attractive if you're a jockey and you ride horses for a living, but it's not true. In reality, girls actually prefer taller men, and this was really it questions me. I mean, it really puzzles me because, yes, okay, what is the function of being tall? I don't know now. I mean, it might have a function of being relatively taller thousands of years ago, where men are hunters-gatherers, but not anymore. And I ask girls that I meet, why do you prefer taller men? And she said, oh, I like my guy to look after me well. And I think, my God, you must be living in a really horrible neighborhood. And then you said, no, I like someone, I can reach something so the person can reach for me. And I said, well, we've got ladders for those kind of things. Right? So really, being taller have no kind of function nowadays. But really, what's happening is that one of the best answers that I get from girls is that I prefer my guy to be taller than me because if I don't, other girls will look at me strangely. Okay, they'll give me some weird looks, which is kind of points to that. So, but it doesn't still stop me that wanting to impress. This is the human being have this kind that they want to impress other people, even though the things they want to impress have no other functions, daily functions whatsoever. So for a start, I still want. Yes. Oh, sure. Okay, can you hear me now? I'll talk like this. Sorry. Thank you. So I still want to try to impress people as much as I possibly can. But normally, when I tell them about the findings in happiness, this is I would expect people to look really in awe. But this is the kind of face that I get. Okay. So these are the kind of people's faces that I get that I tell people. I can't show the person behind that because he's really my brother-in-law. And the photo was taken on the day he signed a marriage certificate with my sister. And he told me that I can use his photo if I don't reveal his identity or what he looks like, so I do apologize. No, sorry, I have to say, he said to me, please, I cannot don't show my photo if I don't purposefully reveal his identity. So just to say, I'm not really tech savvy, so let me see, how do I change slide? Hang on, wait. Okay, so this is what I do. What I do is I collect data, lots of data about happiness, and what we do is that we're trying to see what determines people's mental well-being. And we take questions like, taking all things together, how happy are you? Okay, and there's so many ways to try to measure people's happiness. What we do is we try to measure people's happiness, about 10,000 individuals over time, and see what determines their happiness. So what do we find? Well, we find the big effects in happiness, that marriage has a very big effect on happiness. Bereavement has a big negative in happiness. Friends has one of the highest. Social relationships is very, very important to happiness. Health, very, very high. Unemployment, very, very high, but negatively. And divorce. But the things that has no impact, or small impact, are things like money, the weather, flashy cars, and, I'm really sorry, children. Okay, we don't really find big impacts among these kind of things. But the thing is, when I tell people, they said, we know that already. You're not telling us anything new. We know that. We know that money doesn't make us happy. Okay, so I kind of, so they know that already. But the question is, before that, I just wanted to show, I said, well, I can do something else. I can tell you how much, a friendship is worth. For example, if I were to give money, if money makes people happy, and I can give money to people who have no friends, for that person to be just as happy as if he or she has lots of friends, how much do I have to give that person? Well, it's about 500,000 Singapore dollars per year. And that's huge. Now that just shows that the things that we have for free have this huge amount when they're converted to money in terms of happiness. But the question is, are we spending our time, more of our time, to the things that we know, that are both free and important to our happiness? Now, if people really know this, do they actually spend it wisely? Well, no, not really. According to these statistics, to the International Labour Organization, we Singaporeans, well, not me, I'm Thai, but you Singaporeans work one of the longest hours in the world. You spend more time in office than at home, and maybe more than sleeping itself. Also, jobs are becoming much more stressful over time. So jobs are growing much more stressful over time. So it seems that even though we say that we know what makes us happy, right? But why is it that we do not do what we think, that we should have done? So if the best things in life are free, then why is it that we do not choose them? Why do we not choose to be happy all the time? Well, the thing is, it's probably quite logical as well to explain, because there are two types of happiness. Okay, there are two main types of happiness. One that is absolute, okay? So that's me, catapulted across the Lake District, okay? And you're probably wondering why am I showing you this when I just told you that weather doesn't have any, or climate doesn't have any impact. My happiness here, the absolute happiness, is standing on the other side of the camera, taking the photo. Oh. And if you're wondering, yes, she told me to say that. And the one that is relative. Okay, so there's two types of happiness, one that's absolute and one that is relative. But the major part of our lives, we're driven by the kind of happiness that is relative than one that is absolute. And the question is, why then? Well, first thing first, there's plenty of the things, when things are free, there are plenty of it. We don't really highly value it. We take them for granted. Okay, comparative scales for things. Things like ranks. There's so much ranks to go around. You can't have ranks everywhere. So we need to try to keep up with the Joneses. Rank means that when there's a winner, there's a loser. Okay? So even though you do nothing, and you're trying to allocate your time for the family purposes, trying to maximize your happiness, you can't help it if you care about other people's relative incomes or relative ranking. Okay? Because even though you stand still, your happiness drops when somebody else moves up the income ladder. So you're trying to devote more of your resources for that purposes and trying to pursue this status. The unfortunate thing, of course, is that the pursuit of rank is that there's not so much rank to go around. We only have 24 hours a day to try to pursue as much as happiness as we can. But since there's scarce resource in terms of rank, we need to pursue those kind of things, and we can't stand still, otherwise we're going to fall behind, we're inevitably stuck in what we call a happiness treadmill. Okay? No matter how hard we try, we can never, trying to stay in front of other people too long. And it is, and now it's the thing that people know. We know that what makes us happy. Now that's quite clear. What we fail to know is that other people also want to be happy. And that kind of ruins it for us. Okay? But why are we built this way? So that's a big question. Why are we built this way? Some of it is nature, okay? Because subconsciously, humans are frightened of falling behind for some reason. Okay? They're frightened of falling behind. And just like the example I gave you earlier about height, I just wanted to show you that we care about something that maybe, this is a graph, taller men have order advantages. It shows the height of the US president. And we can see that US president, the taller one tends to win. Right? And now does that have anything? No, but it's just our preference, which is rooted deep long ago, because we thought that height must signal something. Height must signal some kind of ability, maybe back in the past. Maybe also we believe that status signals something, ability, a potential mate. But maybe that also in the past as well. But we still try to pursue that. And then we keep forgetting things that we take for granted, which are things that are plenty, and things that are free. Also, when we're growing up in a society that tell us that whenever times we think about money, we tend to focus too much of our attention on the good things that it brings. But then we forget about all the less salient thing, like, in order to get that kind of money, you have to work so hard. Okay, so you make a decision that I want to earn more money, but by the time you get there, you end up more unhappy because everything kind of adds up. The negative things matter as well as the positive. The positive thing doesn't matter as much as the negative. And before that, I just want to, this thing reminds me, before I go to the next slide, this thing reminds me of a story. I don't know if you know Calvin and Hobbes. Do you know Calvin and Hobbes? It's a very famous comic book. And I just read this very recently. So Calvin, if you don't know, is a 6-year-old boy. And he has a stuffed tiger called Hobbes, and he comes to last every time they together, no one else. And they're walking in the forest, and Calvin asks Hobbes, if you have one wish, what would you wish for? And Hobbes said, I'll wish for a sandwich. And Calvin goes, what? What do you mean a sandwich? We have plenty of those. Okay, at home we have plenty of those. What? Talking about the failure of imagination. If I have a wish, I'll wish for $1 billion. I'll wish to be richer than everybody else I know. And then it's cut to the last panel of the comic, where Calvin looks really kind of, really, really angry, but really dejected. And that's Hobbes eating a sandwich and say, well, I got my wish. And just a note to end, because I don't have a lot of time, there is this piece, writer Bonnie Ware has written a piece about the top 5 regrets people have when they are in their deathbed. And this is very eye-opening, because really, when it comes to the end of our lifetime, what is it that, how do you want to live your life? Okay, it's the way that we're living our life, the way that, when you come to deathbed, I won't have any regrets. And the things that she said, and it's really interesting, the top 5 regrets of people before they die, is that I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. I wish I didn't work so hard. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends, and I wish that I had let myself be happier. Now that is very, you won't really realize this until before you die. And I just wanted to say that nowadays, we grow up in a society where when you were young, when you're just a baby, and you have children, you would know this. When your child starts walking for the first time, you don't compare the child with any other children. That, that's really good, but no, not as good as the other kid over there. It's when you come to university or school, in the education system, that we say that, look, there's a bell curve, right? It doesn't matter how well you do, only 10 people get an A. Now, we need to think about that. Do we make our kids, our future generation, more, relative, sensitive to relative comparison, or comparing things in the future, which of course will make them unhappy in the future. And I want to end this because by saying, because I've got 1 minute left. I say somebody has asked me if I can give, very good advice. What would I give? For you to become happy. I want to quote Michael Argar, which is a social psychologist. Said there's 2 things, 2 steps. If you want to become happier, there's only 2 steps. The first step is to write down on a piece of paper the things that you do that make you happier. The second thing is to do more of it. Thank you.